Last night began night one for the show of shows, WrestleMania. There were seven matches on the card in total. We're going to break down each match one by one and then just kind of give you an overall synopsis of what was a peculiar, weird show that I think in general most fans really didn't like all that much. So for starters, John Cena came out as the host. If you ever seen his SBs monologue, I believe back in 2016, you know how John can really move and control the crowd. He just seemed just very stiff in announcing the open to WrestleMania. Then we got to the opening match on the card, which was a six-man tag team match between the Usos and LA Knight and Vision and I Show Speed. This was something you could see on Raw. This wasn't something that I felt that was WrestleMania worthy. It was more of an I Show Speed showcase than anything else. He got his spots in, looked pretty athletic out there on, in the ring. He was focused. He really seemed to be in the moment and showing respect to the craft. But again, when you have people like LA Knight and the Usos, I think they deserved bigger moments than to kind of play second fiddle to a celebrity in I Show Speed. And listen, there have been celebrity matches for this is nothing new. It just seemed like this was kind of a filler match, just to highlight his skills. So it's a fairly quick match too, which I have no problems with because with celebrities, you kind of want to get that out of the way unless you're a Bad Bunny or Logan Paul that can really go in the ring and then you can kind of stretch that thing out. So that was about 7, 8 minutes. The Usos and LA Knight got the win, and then right afterwards, Logan Paul basically blamed I Show Speed, turned on I Show Speed, and then he got his revenge by jumping off the one of the wrestling poles and hitting a frog splash to Logan Paul on the announcers table, breaking the announcers table. So I Show Speed got his spot, and that was all good and stuff. But again, I just didn't think that was a WrestleMania worthy match. Not when you have people like Alistair Black and Io Sky and Tiffany Stratton and others who were just completely off the card. Next up, we had the unsanctioned match, which was Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre. Now, I've said in previous videos that those two should have been involved in the the WWE Championship, excuse me. That match should have been either with those two for the title or as part of a four-way. And they did what they were supposed to do. They put on a violent, aggressive, hard-hitting match, a couple of cool table spots, one where Drew pushed Jacob off of the ropes into the table. That was a pretty cool spot. They just went back and forth. But again, with the unsanctioned match, you wanted a little more violence and maybe just a bit of blood. But again, with this match being part of that first hour that was on ESPN, I can see why they didn't want to go with the blood. But then you should have named it something else other than unsanctioned, because that terminology carries that anything and everything is on the table. It doesn't matter where you go, what you do. You just have just a drag down, almost to the death type match, and anything should have gone. And there probably should have been some blood in that. But it was a solid match, and they both put in a hell of a performance. I really liked that match. I believe the next match was the Fatal Four-Way Women's Tag Team Championships. This was a match that I didn't really like as well. The cool spot was that Nikki Bella obviously could not perform due to an injury to her ankle and forefoot. So they brought out Paige. So it was the first time I've seen Paige in a WWE ring in almost a decade. She is back, and she got probably the biggest pop of the night, really. So it was great to have her back in WWE. You can almost start to come up with any type of dream match scenarios that you want between Paige and whomever that's on the women's roster now. But this was another match that went fairly quickly. I think you really could have had some time to flesh things out between the four teams. I thought the tag champs, Lash Legend and Nia Jax, were completely overlooked and almost an afterthought of it, as well as Bailey and Lyra Vicaria also overlooked. And it really just came down between Charlotte and Alexa, and then Brie Bella and Paige. Paige got the win with the Rampage on Alexa Bliss. They're the new tag team champions. It's interesting to see if Paige is going to kind of stay in this tag team, or, once Nikki gets healthy, they obviously will turn on Paige and, start a program of their own and, maybe feud for the tag belts before really Paige needs to be on in a singles feud for a title. But like I said, also runtime, I believe, was like 8 minutes. So you're starting to see a theme here with these matches. Next up, AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch for the Intercontinental title. Both of them had really cool entrances. Becky got her theme song played live. AJ Lee came out with a bunch of young girls skipping into the ring, so I thought that was pretty cool. And then the match itself was probably the best of the matches that they've had, but also, again, it was short. It was only 8 minutes, and it's a problem. And I swear to you, I will get to that in just a second. They came out, they performed their hardest. Like I said, I think their chemistry was probably the best of the 3 or 4 matches that they've had. But Becky Lynch got the win. She has her third Intercontinental title reign, and I think that was probably the right call. AJ's probably going to go away for a little while and probably come back to maybe start another feud with someone else. Becky gets to again take the Intercontinental title and maybe start some fresh feuds, maybe with a Page, maybe with, someone else, a Lyra Valkyria or someone of that magnitude to again to continue to enhance that women's IC title. That match felt rushed. It really felt rushed. And I thought the women all night deserved better in terms of their matches. We get to our fifth match, Gunther versus Seth Rollins. This was clearly the match of the night. Listen, the build just came out of nowhere. They needed to find Gunther something to do. Seth was cleared right before Mania, and they decided to just throw him in and see what they can do. And these two really came and made it into just a legitimate fight. This was just about, you're going to respect me. You're going to respect me. I'm better than you. No, I'm better than you. And they just went at it. They got a good 15 minutes, probably should have been stretched to 20, 22 minutes. I thought just as things were really getting good between Seth and Gunther, in comes Braun Breaker, spears Seth kind of awkwardly into the barricade, and that basically spoiled the match really for Seth Rollins. Gunther puts a sleeper hold in and makes basically knocks Seth out with that. So Gunther got the win. 15 minutes, again, match of the night. Could have gone a little bit more. And then you get the highlight clip of Braun Breaker going up the ramp, but then just barreling down the ramp and hitting another spear on Seth Rollins. That one also looked a bit awkward, but it served its purpose to set up the feud between a Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins and the Vision to keep that thing going. Despite the storyline or lack of storyline, really cooked. Gunther and Seth did their thing. Then we had the sixth match of the night, and that was, for me, the most disappointing, giving the build up to it, which was Stephanie Vakira versus Liv Morgan. I thought kind of started off a little cold, heated up as it got going and started moving up for me in terms of the list of matches that I was interested in. And again, that match was less than 7 minutes. For a world championship match, you can't give them 7 minutes. I think a huge disservice was done to both women, infusing the Judgment Day, which was expected. They come in, they interfere. Liv hits a second Oblivion of the night and picks up the win. Like there was no real comeback for Stephanie Vakira, and that to me was a problem. I thought they did Stephanie Vakira pretty dirty in this match, and again with a less than 7 minute runtime. But again, all the women deserve better. That was just atrocious. Just atrocious. They really couldn't get going because they had to just fly through their match so quickly. Then John Cena comes back out to announce the night's attendance, which I believe was a tick under 51,000. I think 50,816 was the announced tally. And then out of the blue, Bianca Belair's music hits. And from the moment she came out, you knew something was up. She was glowing, absolutely glowing. She didn't do her skip down to the ring like she normally does, so you knew something was up. And she came out to announce that she is indeed pregnant with her first child. So congratulations to Bianca Belair and Montez Ford. That made the official count 50,817, as John Cena dryly announced. And then we get to our main event. Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. This was, again, as I've said before, this should have been a fatal four-way. You could have had Cody versus Randy without the title. It didn't need it. You had 20 years of history behind it. But for whatever reason, it's for the title. Cool. Looked like we were getting '09 Randy Orton. And Pat McAfee, for whatever reason, got his own entrance, which he was heavily booed. Cody came out. He was booed pretty harshly. Randy Orton's entrance lasted several minutes. He was moving slower than he normally does when he comes out to the ring. So right at the beginning, Pat McAfee takes the microphone from Alicia Taylor, attacks Cody Rhodes. Rhodes gets Pat McAfee out the way with a crossroads. He's then gets taken out, speaking of McAfee, by an elbow from Jelly Roll. Just whatever. And all this time that they're trying to bring a stretcher out and get McAfee out of the wrestling ring area, both Cody and Randy are just not doing anything. If this is '09 Randy Orton, he uses that moment to go in and snuff Cody out. Didn't happen. So the match finally got underway, and for the majority of that match, it looked as though they were going to do a double turn. Everything Cody was doing was heel related. You know, at one point, Randy was bleeding, and Cody wipes, some of the blood off of Randy and puts it on his chest. Very heel-like things that Cody was doing, and it felt all night that Randy was fighting underneath. So it looked like we were getting ready to get a double turn. You know, Lil Nate, the ref gets knocked out. In comes Pat McAfee in a referee shirt. And again, Pat McAfee is supposed to be on Randy's side after Randy hit Cody with an RKO. Why does he not do a quick 3 count to help his buddy Randy out? He does the slowest 3 count in the world. Cody kicks out. Randy then turns around and RKO's Pat McAfee. So now you're really like, okay, Randy's the face, Cody's the heel. Cody takes advantage of the situation, hits Randy Orton with a crossroads, 1, 2, 3. Cody retains. And then while he's celebrating, Randy hits him with the title and then punts him. The punt got a huge ovation because this is what we wanted as fans, was '09 Randy Orton. And we got it with the punt. And then the show ended, which confused fans mightily because it seemed like you were trying to do this double turn, but you didn't. So obviously they're more than likely probably going to have a match at Backlash. But the way that this whole feud between Cody and Randy was just fumbled from start to finish was just really unfortunate, because this was also a match that fans wanted to see, was those two, because of the history. It was right there. You didn't need to insert Jelly Roll. You didn't need to insert Pat McAfee, but here we are. So overall, that was probably one of the weakest nights of WrestleMania that I can remember. It just really, the pacing of it just felt off for the entire night. Why they kept running ads for the Hulk Hogan documentary that nobody really wants to see was beyond me. There were no video packages for the match until Randy versus Cody. That was also a bit weird. The main event match booking made 0 sense. There were just a lot of things that went wrong that night. 5 of the 7 matches of the night were 10 minutes or less. Let me say that again. 5 of the 7 matches that night were 10 minutes or less. Only Randy versus Cody and Gunther versus Seth got 15 or more minutes. And on a 4-hour show, you're only giving me 85 minutes of actual wrestling. That's a real problem. The opening match was very weak. I didn't like it. The storylines heading into most of these matches, didn't help. So it was just a weird, uneventful night for it to be the biggest night of the year, the biggest show of the year. The opening match, again, like I said, was a weak one, and that's really not the way you want to start WrestleMania. You always want a hot match to get the crowd really into it and invested. Yeah, they fumbled on a lot of things. So again, I liked Gunther versus Seth. I liked Drew McIntyre versus Jacob Fatu. Those are probably the 2 matches that I would probably run back and rewatch. Everything else to me was just filler. It really was. So here's hoping that night two will be much, much better. It cannot get any worse than it was last night. But this is TKO, so we shall see. Let me know what you think.